Hello, this is 25k opening event during Triton Poker Series in Monte-Carlo. Usually poker stream starts on day 2 or later, but here we had an opportunity to observe play from the very beginning. Players are very deep, with average 250 big blinds to start the hand. We don't have exact ranges in our app for this kind of deep stacks, but I'll show you that they're very similar to scenarios on 100 big blinds. Also keep in mind that despite the stack sizes and GPV calculations, these are not ranges you should use in most cash games, and there are two reasons for that. We play with a big blind ante, and here also we don't pay any rake, so these ranges will be considerably wider. Action starts with a raise on the button, and on the left side we see 225 BB stack scenario, and on the right 100 BB calculations. We can see that we can open a little bit more when we are deeper. It's because the advantage of positions gets bigger. Alexiej Poniakovs decided to 3-bet his ace-8 off on the small blind, and we can see that in both scenarios this isn't very good play. On deep stacks, solver prefers to 3-bet hands that can make nuts and are easier to play on many boards, and blocking properties aren't that important on still very wide ranges. When we look at small blind difference between these two ranges, we can see that we're not so happy 3-betting hands like queens or jacks, because we don't really want to get them in pre-flop when we're more than 200 big blinds deep. And if our value range gets smaller, we should also bluff less, so our overall 3-betting range becomes a little bit tighter. It goes down from 14 to 12% of hands. Now the decision is on the button, and here we can see that both ranges are very similar, and we should do the same small adjustments as small blind. We should 4-bet a little bit less. On 100 big blinds, queens and jacks are nice hands to get in, but on more than 200, we should be more careful with them. Still, we continue with a lot of hands, and King 7 suited is always calling this 3-bet. On this flop, Poniakovs decided to c-bet for around half pot, and we can see that this is most used sizing on that texture. But his play here is another mistake. He has so many better candidates to bet. All hands with backdoor flush draws, hands with 2 overcards and backdoor straight, all the pairs, etc. Ace-8 without backdoors is one of the worst hands he can have here, and if he's c-betting it, it probably means that he just never checks this flop. Juan Pardo, facing a bet, decided to call. This is pretty ambitious and not necessary with King 7 suited. On this board he has a lot of better hands to continue and should fold only a quarter of them, but this is not a mistake, and we see that solver calls this hand with some frequency. Turn card is better for the button, so small blind should check most of his range here. And against a check, button should bet with around half of his range. We can see here that King 7 is betting for 2/3 of the pot most of the time, and is one of prime candidates to bluff with this sizing, so well played by Pardo. Against this bet, Poniakovs decided to call, and this is another mistake made by him in this hand. Solver folds here almost all ace-highs, calling only nut flush draws. Even ace-king with 2 overcards and a gutshot should be a pure fold. Poniakovs checked the river, and the solver wants to check the whole range. Pardo decided to go all in. He still has a lot of hands that can go for big value bet. All sets, straights and 2 pairs, and King 7 suited is a fine bluffing hand here. Poniakovs tanked a bit and called, and this is probably only fine play by him in this hand. Although he beats only bluffs, and this is pure bluff catcher. We can see that these ace-x combos are indifferent and can go either way, so it's not a great spot by any means. Our next hand takes place on the second level and starts with a raise from Hossein Ensan on the cutoff. This is a bit too wide, but nothing crazy. Chris Brewer in the next position played a 3-bet with ace-jack suited. Solver prefers to call with this hand, but 3-bet is also okay. It gets better if we think that cutoff might be opening wider than he should. Now the decision is on Daniel Dvores, and he decided to call 4-bet here. We see a pattern. Every player is a bit wider than he should. Solver starts to 4-bet with some 9s, and 8s should be a pure fold here. Ace-Jack suited isn't folding to this called 4-bet, and we can go to post-flop play with SPR around 2. Dvorez starts with a check, and this is a mistake. This is a good spot to range bet, because he has a huge range advantage on this board. He has sets, a lot of top pairs, 2 pairs, and some nut flushes. Few under pairs are his worst hands, but with such strong range he has no other candidates to turn into bluff. Brewer should be checking back most of his hands, but we can see that Ace-Jack bluffs sometimes, so this play is okay. Dvorez decided to call here, as he should with most of his range, but we can look at pocket nines here. If he didn't bluff them on the flop, he should mostly fold them now if he doesn't have a spade. King on the turn is better for small blind, and he should lead here with most hands, checking with less than 20% of range. Chris checked back his Ace-Jack suited, and that is solver approved play, but this also makes his range capped. He should barrel with all full houses and flushes. 3 on the river is a total brick. Dvorez checked again, and Chris Brewer bet for 2/3 of the pot. He isn't wrapping much. Because he capped himself on the turn, this play doesn't make a lot of sense. Solver wants to use this sizing only with pocket aces and some rare bluffs. Ace-Jack of hearts is there too, but with very low frequency. In theory, under pairs should go to the Mac, because he has so many better hands, even with this weak line. This play becomes better only if Brewer is having too many bluffs in his line, and I guess it might be the case here. These two hands show that even the best tournament players in the world are far from GTO when playing on very deep stacks, and the tendency is that they splash around to try to build stacks, being mostly way too loose in many situations. And how about you? Do you like to play tournaments from the start, or do you late rec to avoid these very deep spots? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.